Good afternoon and welcome to the Senior Hour, which is sponsored by Providence Holy Cross Medical Center and Comfort Keepers in Home Care. I'm Barbara Cochran with my co-host,
Dr. Thomas Polucki,
on your hometown station, 98.1 FM, AM 1220 KHTS. This is a show for, about, and by seniors, giving information to enhance one's quality of life. And speaking of quality of life, my co-host, Dr. Thomas Polucki, is the guest speaker today.
Hey, what do you know? It's Thanksgiving Eve. So today's show, we're going to focus on, among other things, gratitude. But before we get into that, because, it's going to be a great show, and please stay tuned. It's powerful medicine. Barb told me something really disturbing, so we'd like to do a public service announcement if we can, just a few minutes before we get into the show. So, Barb, you want to tell me what you just went through?
Yes. On TV, there's all kinds of advertisements about Medicare Advantage plans.
Yeah.
Well, I called one of those numbers, and I got caught up into this new insurance company that wasn't going to charge me the amount that I've been paying for my Anthem Blue Cross and Medicare.
Right.
And so he promised me, looked up all of the doctors that I go to and said, yes, you're covered, you're covered, you're covered.
Mm-hmm.
I signed up for it. Come to find out that I was supposed to have a PET scan tomorrow at my oncologist's office. They don't take that insurance.
Right.
And I'm just putting out a warning signal to seniors out there who are paying a little bit extra for insurance not to go with this Medicare Advantage plan, because in my opinion, it's a spam. It's not real, at least the one I spoke to.
Okay, that's very unfortunate, and it is valuable information. Seniors are at risk of being taken advantage of, even by big insurance companies.
Absolutely.
So the standard Medicare, it does cost a little bit to participate in the standard Medicare system. And supplemental insurance, I think, is a very good idea. But I am weary, as you found out the hard way, of any managed care system taking over your Medicare benefits, because you will find out, unfortunately, as you did, Barb, that you can no longer go to your doctors, regardless of what they tell you when you sign on the line.
That's right.
And that's, I am so sorry you went through that, but that's really all the time I want to spend, because I want to get back to some holiday spirit, if that's okay. If that's okay with you.
I agree with you.
Awesome.
Yes.
So, first of all, on this Thanksgiving Eve, I'd like to start by focusing on gratitude. It's powerful medicine, experienced by billions of people for thousands of years. There's no insurance policy that covers gratitude.
No, absolutely not.
Common side effects include courteous behavior, especially in the face of adversity. So stay tuned for your booster, and here's a little sample of it. Thank you, every listener of the Senior Hour. Thank you for listening. And even if we never meet, thank you for changing my life for the better. Someday, in some way, I hope I can return the favor. Thank you, Carl and Jerry, for their countless sacrifices in maintaining and protecting freedom of speech, which has been under attack for some time now.
Absolutely. And this is my 20th year doing the Senior Hour.
Thank you, Barb, for keeping the Senior Hour going for all this time.
Dr. Jean Dorio and I
Dr. Jean Dorio.
Many, many years.
Thank you, Jean. I hope you're listening if you're able. And thank you, Barb, for not just being my host, but being my patient for nearly 20 years.
I know. Well,
letting me
it's
help
worked.
you through all your challenges,
Yes.
cancer twice,
That's right.
a potentially life-threatening injury,
From a car accident.
neuropathy,
Yes.
and everything it takes to survive all that insanity. So thank you for being there. Thank you, Jen.
Quite welcome. Thank you, guys.
Thank you for being our amazing engineer, stepping up into the position like you own it. I've never seen anybody get on that board so quickly and just take care of everything, making me sound good enough to be on KHTS AM 1220 FM 98.3. So
Point one.
What? 0.1? Damn.
You said 0.3.
I'm sending people to the college station.
Moving too fast.
98.1.
Watch what you say, young man.
Yes. All right. That being said, holiday preparations, changes in routine, less sunshine. Not here. I got a tan. In case you haven't noticed, the sun has been very good. It's a little lower in the horizon, so if you don't have some property, it may be a challenge to be able to get some good sunshine in your backyard.
Well, you have a beautiful pool in
Well,
your
I'm lucky
backyard,
enough
too.
that,
Yes.
I have enough room that I can get to the sunshine every morning, which is amazing. I love it. One of the main reasons we live here is that backyard.
It's a beautiful backyard.
Yeah.
I know, because
Thank
I've been
you.
swimming in that pool before.
So we don't have to worry about not so much sunshine here in greater Los Angeles area, but a lot of people aren't seeing so much sun these days. And we're also blessed with temperate weather. It's like 73 degrees outside right now. It's
In the middle of winter.
gorgeous.
Or
It's not.
well, it's almost winter.
Yeah, it's the end of fall.
It's getting coming.
Yeah,
it's coming.
the end of fall and the end of fall. So you can't ask for much better. And that is all the more reason to get out and enjoy the sunshine and the fresh air, because we know that's good for you, regardless of what so-called health experts say.
Yes, it is.
Stay in the dark and don't get any fresh air.
But
Because
this time last year, it was much colder.
yeah.
It was. We had a much colder. Winter came a little bit earlier last year.
Yeah, your memory's better than mine, Barb.
Yes.
I'm
Although mine's slipping away very quickly.
I'm living in the moment.
what happens
It's a
as you get
gorgeous day
older.
outside. Yes. So, but here's what we're all going to be challenged with from now until the end of the year: overindulgence in some foods that we're not used to. Our bodies aren't used to. Our digestive tracts aren't used to. Our blood vessels aren't used to. Overindulgence in some fatty foods. For some people, they're still indulging in some alcohol, which compound that whole issue. Sweets and fatty foods. Starting tomorrow is the kickoff of the overindulgence season.
As my son calls it, poison.
Yeah. It's definitely a challenge. Definitely a challenge for a lot of people to maintain the concept of let food be thy medicine. So it's really enough to make you sick. Now, sit right back and you'll hear a tale. A tale of, imagine you're on a desert island, right? So I'll be the skipper. You can be the millionaire's wife, right?
Oh, okay.
And we got the radio star back here on the
Yes,
operations board, and the rest. And thank you to KHTS, everybody behind the scenes who makes this whole thing come off that you maybe only hear of once in a while. But imagine you're on that desert isle, right? So in all the movies and all the stuff, they're like, oh, we got to find food. We got to do that, But the reality is, it's a lot more like being in space when you have to think about what it takes to survive. You got 3 minutes to find air, right? So air is pretty important. If you're looking at what's important, we all know that the saying goes, you are what you eat. And that's where I'm ultimately going to get to with this whole thing. But there's so much more important things than just focusing on what you eat, right? So breathing properly is a big one. You got 3 minutes before breathing becomes a real issue for you, life and death, right? So think about that for a second. Now, I am always in these health entrepreneur seminars, right? Doctors, all different kinds of doctors, supplement companies, all these things. And occasionally you'll get some guru up there on the stage, and invariably all of them have some kind of magic breathing method that's supposed to be this miracle of, ancient wisdom on healing everything under the sun, right? And then they demonstrate it, and I immediately am like, okay. So I do this in every live interaction class that I ever have, because I've been, focusing on this for 4 decades. So, Barb, I hate to pick on you, but we're going to do this. Now, I don't know if you're going to do it right or not, because you've been my patient, and hopefully you'll get this right. But I just want to demonstrate for a second. Barb, take a really good deep breath for me. All right, yep. Everybody does that, right? And as soon as I say take a big deep breath, you see the chest heave up, right?
That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
So that triggers all the emergency responses throughout your entire system. It's emergency breathing. We're designed to be able to heave our chest up to get that little extra 10% of air in our lungs when we're either running or fighting for our lives. So there's these muscles in our neck that can literally pull our rib cage up to get that little top of the lung full of air, about 10%, right? But in doing so, you immediately trigger all the emergency chemicals in the brain and floods throughout the body. So for a breathing exercise, that's not what you want to accomplish, right? First of all, it only improves your air consumption, your oxygen level in your blood, possibly an extra few percent, because that's not where the good stuff in the lungs happen. The good stuff in the lungs happen way down at the bottom. And the way to get air down into the bottom of the lungs is by deep belly breathing. When you take a big, deep belly breath, you're sucking the air down with your diaphragm instead of trying to pull air into the top of your lungs with your neck muscles. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And it's interesting, too, because I've never been a nose breather.
That was the second part that I'm going to get to.
I've never been able to breathe through my nose.
Okay.
And feel like I have enough oxygen.
Well, there is something to that. It's kind of important to breathe as deeply as you can in through your nose. That's the second part of this. Breathe with your diaphragm deep down into your lungs and breathe in through your nose, because there's a structure in the top of your nose between your nose and your brain that makes a chemical called nitric oxide. Now, remember the red light that you have for your neuropathy?
Yes.
And it helped some, yes?
Oh, yes.
Okay. So red light, that wavelength of infrared and red light, stimulates your skin like ultraviolet light. Sunshine makes vitamin D in your skin. That red light makes nitric oxide. And nitric oxide opens up blood vessels so that blood can travel around your body more effectively, right? And it's Nobel-winning prize for heart research. It actually is a major medicine for improving heart health. When you breathe deeply through your nose, there's a structure in the top of your nose, in between your nose and your brain, that when air which is mostly nitrogen and oxygen, there's a structure in your own body that when when you force air over it, it makes the chemical reaction that creates nitric oxide. It is probably the sole benefit of what we call aerobic exercise, because you're forcing air over that structure, creating nitric oxide and dilating the blood vessels, especially to the heart, but all of the organs, right? Cool, pretty cool, right? So air is kind of important. And if you were stuck on that stranded island, back to that story again, the second thing you'd have to do is you only got a couple of days to find water, or you're in really big trouble. You know, you can go 30 days without food, without running into trouble. And some of us, it might not be such a bad thing, but 30 days
30
before,
days without food,
before you're in serious trouble. Yeah.
Wow.
So, but again, only 3 minutes without air. So air is 3 minutes versus 30 days. At one point I did the math. It's a couple thousand times more important to focus on your breathing than it is your food choices when it comes to health, right? Follow me so far? Okay, good. Water, you've got 3 days. So it's technically 10 times more important to stay hydrated than it is your food choices.
Okay, well, when you're on an island, you've got coconut trees.
Yeah.
And coconut does have juice in them.
Yeah.
So you would get your, not water, but you would get liquid.
Right.
That way.
Okay.
That's one way.
Did you see that movie with Tom Hanks?
I may have years ago.
With the volleyball. So coconut water is an amazing electrolyte unless it's your only source of liquid. And then you can get into trouble because it's a laxative. There's a lot of electrolytes in it. So coconut, as your sole source of hydration, can dehydrate you from, the other end. So you got to be careful with that. Occasionally, some coconut water here on the mainland where you have access to fresh water is a real good idea. But as your only source of hydration, it can cause some problems in and
Well,
of
my
itself.
son loves coconut milk.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
That's the only kind of milk he drinks is coconut milk.
All right. So, and then sleep, believe it or not. You can only go 3 days without sleep before you're in some serious, serious health problems. They used to have these dancing marathons, and that you just can't go without sleep. So there's 3 things that we all have access to that are more important than the foods we eat. When we get back from the break, I will get into the food. But we've got a lot to cover before we even get to what choices are going to make all the difference in your food, not just for the next few weeks of the year. There's only like 6 weeks left in the year.
Where has it gone?
But in your choices for a happy, healthy new year. And we'll get all into that when we get back from the break.
Okay.
You're listening to the Senior Hour, KHTS, FM 98.1, AM 1220, HometownStation.com.
Welcome back to the Senior Hour. I'm Barbara Cochran with my co-host, Dr. Thomas Polucki, on your hometown station, 98.1 FM, AM 1220, KHTS. And let's continue.
Yeah, we're talking about the holiday survival guide. So, the holiday seasons should be all good, but it never works out like that. Especially in our senior community, some people are going to be struggling with loss. Barb, you know about that.
Oh, yes.
Yes. So there's going to be some mixed emotions attached to the holidays, feelings of loneliness. We've already covered get out as much as possible. Take advantage of this this is more like spring-like weather than it is the end of fall. And we're so fortunate to have this luxury of fresh air and sunshine to take advantage of. There's, as soon as the sun comes up, it's warm enough to open up the windows and air out the house. But there's still some other things. All the stress of preparations for the holidays, and unless you've gotten to the point in your life where you have everything catered, you're going to be dealing with some changes in your schedule. You're going to be dealing with either hosting or having to show up, maybe sleep on someone's couch or something weird around related to the holidays, right? So there's that. As much planning as possible, as much systematically planning so that your body doesn't have to make these huge adaptations is going to chill out a lot of the stress. And even if you're subjected to sleeping on the couch and not eating the foods that you're most comfortable with and having to deal with unresolved family issues instead of just enjoying each other's company, the one time of the year that the whole family gets together, just keeping it real. I mean, families can be challenging at times. As much as possible, try to enjoy it, because you never know when any of that stuff is going to be taken away from you, right?
That's very true. Very true.
So I'm going to give you some stress management that you won't hear from the guru without the clue. I like something called gratitude walking. I open the show with some gratitude, some thank yous going out to you, Barb, and Jen, and everybody here at KHTS. Of course, Tony, my wife, for putting up with me for 23 years. I know that can't be easy. Carl and Jerry for giving us this platform. Carl Goldman and Jerry Cerati Goldman for so many sacrifices that nobody will ever know about just to keep this platform, this media, this AM, FM, web, Facebook presence, keep it going through one of the biggest attacks on freedom of speech in all of history. So,
and the senior hour has been around for a long time.
Yep.
I mean, it was even before Gene and I took over 20 years ago.
Yep. So, the reason that comes to me easily, the gratitude, my suggestion is gratitude walking. This is how I start every day. I walk my dogs, right? And while I'm walking, I try to remember all of the things that I'm grateful for. And I'll tell you why, because I was embarrassed 30 years ago, a little more than 30 years ago. Wow. I was at a holiday dinner, and there was a guest that truly had, from the outward look of things, nothing to be grateful for. They were in really tough times, and they were a guest because we were often the island of misfit toys when it comes to holiday dinners. Anybody who doesn't have a home, shows up, or a place to go for the holidays, shows up at our holiday meals. And this person just started rattling off everything they were grateful for. And I was so embarrassed that I would have never seen it. I would have never been able to feel grateful for their situation.
But they were grateful.
They were grateful. They were grateful for so many things. And I was like, I need an attitude adjustment. So I started there. And every day, every morning, I practice gratitude. And in the early stages, it can be a challenge because all the negativity, because we get a lot of practice at that all day long. From every angle, we get negativity.
That's true.
So you really need some practice at practicing, at feeling gratitude, not just superficially like, oh, thank you, being thankful. That's a good start, though. Thank you, people. Thank you. That's a good start. but really feeling gratitude for the trees and the sunshine and the fresh air and the breeze. And I was on top of a mountain the other day, and it was sleeting on me on my way down. I had 5 miles to come down, and I was running through literally clouds in a sleet storm, and it was the most amazing experience. I was literally, just very grateful that I was feeling that ice digging in and running through that. It was just amazing. It was the most natural experience I've had in a really long time, and it was just transformative, right? So when you can be grateful for pain and exhaustion and not knowing, man, am I going to make it down off this mountain, right? And you feel absolute gratitude for that, it really changes the way you look at things, right?
Oh, absolutely.
So I practice gratitude walking. I strongly suggest, and movement is really important. We a couple shows ago, I showed you some movements you can do even if you can't walk. I call it stomp and punch, where you stomp. Even if you're in your chair, you stomp. Yeah. You stomp. And even if you're stuck in your chair, if you can still move your arms, you can punch. If you can stomp and punch, you are getting the extremities moving in exactly the right way.
Yes,
you are getting
I agree with
the
you.
blood flowing in exactly the right way.
Yeah, because I'll get that walker and I'll walk over to the kitchen sink and hold onto the kitchen sink and push my feet out sideways, backwards, just keep them moving, and my arms and doing
Perfect.
this.
Yeah. Stomp and punch. It's great medicine. And I also gave you some tips on some very basic yoga and Tai Chi. Very cool stuff. Nowadays you can find just about anything online. Just be careful. Don't do anything crazy. Plan ahead as much as possible. Delegate like a boss whenever possible, but understand and set realistic expectations. And be prepared. I like to be realistic enough that I'm never disappointed by any outcome. So then it's all good. It's all good, no matter what happens. Like I said, in the middle of a sleet storm, totally exhausted, trying to get down off a mountain, and you're feeling absolute gratitude about the experience. I'm not saying that to brag. I'm just saying that if it can happen for me, it can happen for anyone.
Well, that's interesting that you say that, because the other morning, I think was it Saturday morning? Yeah, I think it was last Saturday morning. I was awakened at 6:25 by the dog that was barking over the. My bedroom window is here, and then the fence is there, and the backyard to that where that dog lives is there. And it was barking like you wouldn't believe. And I thought to myself, I won't say what I thought, but but then when the dog finally stopped barking, I thought, whoa, that gratitude feeling came over me. I'm lying in my bed and I'm awake. Mm. I'm alive. Mm-hmm. Those thoughts went through my mind, and I don't know why, because I never think about that. But it did. And I think it was because that dog barked at 6:30 in the morning and woke me up. And I don't normally
literally
wake
a wake-up call.
Oh, absolutely it was. But it was like a revelation.
Yeah.
And I thought, whoa, I'm here and I'm alive. I'm lying in my bed, listening to a fiddling dog bark outside. Wow, and I haven't had those feelings for a long, long time, since I recovered from the last bout of cancer. Mm-hmm. And but just lying there thinking about that, and I thought, whoa, I am so grateful for what I have. I'm lying here alive in my bed, you know? So I understand what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But I had to bring that in because
No, it's perfect. That's what this show's about.
And I ask the seniors who listen to this show to stop and think about what you have and how lucky you are. And I realize that some seniors aren't as lucky. But if you're alive and you can wake up in the morning, you're lucky.
It's a good start.
Absolutely it is.
Yeah.
So go ahead, sir.
Okay.
Continue.
All right. So we started the show off with, it is Thanksgiving Eve. And when I said that, you were like, what does that mean? I've never heard Thanksgiving Eve before.
No.
It just means the day before Thanksgiving, right? So
well, when you said Eve, I looked at my watch and I thought, it's not evening
it's
yet.
not evening, right?
That's the thought that went through my mind.
Well, New Year's Eve isn't just 11:59. It's the day before New Year's, right?
That's true.
Okay. So we covered a lot of stuff, but everybody is going to be focusing on food tomorrow. It is kind of what tomorrow has come to mean is this holiday meal, this one time. It's the most traveled day of the year. This one time where family comes together for a meal. Instead of every night, one time a year, the family is supposed to come together for a meal.
A special meal.
A special meal.
Yes.
And maybe someone might give thanks for that, right? So it's kind of crazy how things have turned in this society. But the food has been the primary focus. And, it is the primary focus in alternative health care, right? So you get outside of taking this pill for this problem and this pill for that problem. And then if it's really bad, you get surgery. You step away from that. And almost everybody is talking about food, right? The best-selling books are always diet books. I purposely did not write a diet book because it's definitely important, but it's not the most important.
It's not the end of the world.
It's not everything. It is very personal and very unique, and that's a whole other conversation. But where am I going with this, right? The key here is, all right, so in France, in kindergarten, and by the way, I didn't pick France randomly.
It's France, by the way.
France. In France.
In France.
They have been jockeying for the first position in the healthiest country for nearly a decade. You know where the United States is?
Way down at the bottom.
About 50.
I know.
Somewhere around 50. Let's say, just keep the number simple.
Down bottom.
France has been in the top 5 for the past decade. The United States haven't been in the top 50. Just some food for thought when you start pounding your chest about how great our healthcare system is. In kindergarten, French 5-year-olds learn portion control. So, first of all, they walk a lot more than we do. Their food quality, I believe, is better than ours. And they learn portion control, which I'm going to show you. It's probably going to fall on deaf ears because tomorrow is the gluttony holiday of the year. But I'm going to show you how you don't have to make yourself sick tomorrow at the meal. I'm not saying stay away from everything. I'm going to show you how you can have everything you want and still not pass out from a diabetic coma by the end of the night when we get back from the break. You're listening to the Senior Hour, KHTS 98.1 AM 1220, HometownStation.com.
Welcome back to the Senior Hour. I'm Barbara Cochran with my co-host, Dr. Thomas Polucki, on your hometown station, 98.1 FM, AM 1220 KHTS. And we're talking about Thanksgiving.
Yeah, we're finishing up the holiday survival guide, and I emphasize that there's a lot of things that are more important about food, but we're getting to the main course. I just want to do a quick recap about getting out, moving, enjoying the fresh air and the sunshine that we are so fortunate to have this beautiful Thanksgiving Eve. It's in the low 70s, beautiful sunshine, fresh air. The winds have blown away all of the pollution, and
That's true.
It's amazing outside. Please take advantage of that. If you've got relatives coming in from out of town, this is why we live here, and we put up with everything we have to in order to live here. This is one of the main reasons to live in California. So please take advantage of it. Be grateful for that fresh air, that sunshine, this time, very limited time, the one time of year that you are going to have to deal with unresolved family issues for a couple of hours. So just be grateful that you still have those relatives alive to appreciate, even if you don't agree with them about everything. So it's time to, really set all that aside and just be grateful for the fellowship and companionship, because you never know when they're not going to be there anymore.
That's right. Very true.
Any of us. And do as much as possible to plan ahead for these events, if at all possible. Don't change your schedule too much as far as getting the sleep and hydration that you need. Some of us are still partaking in alcohol. So my rule of thumb is, if you are going to drink, every alcoholic beverage has to be followed by an equal amount of water. So if you're going to have a glass of wine, you have to follow that with a glass of water. If you're going to have a cocktail, you have to follow that with a glass of water. I think it's just going to save you a lot of aches and pains the next day. So the main course. Right before the break, I said there was a secret that the French know, who are in the top 5 of healthy countries in the world compared to Americans, which are in the bottom 50. They learn portion control in kindergarten, and I'm going to show you their trick. So you can use this even tomorrow on the big feast day of the year, the Harvest Festival. Here's their trick. So just your hand. You don't need any kind of special device. You don't need to count calories. All you need to know is what is the kind of food that you're eating. So let's just say, for sake of this conversation, that meat is mostly protein. So tomorrow, a lot of people are either going to have turkey or ham as the main course, right? That's traditional, right? Your protein is the size of your palm. So if you're laying out your plate, do a portion about the size of your palm, and that's how much protein you should have. The size as far as width and length and depth, right? So imagine that you're making a stack of turkey on the plate. It's going to be about the size of your palm, right?
That's a lot of food when you look at the size of your palm.
Your palm, not your fingers included.
No, I'm talking about this.
Yep. That's it.
That's a lot of food.
Okay, for you.
For me,
for you, it's a lot of food. I understand, but you gotta realize tomorrow's Thanksgiving, and people are going to be going nuts with this. That's actually a small portion for Thanksgiving.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, your fingers So tomorrow you're going to have a full dinner plate. So we're going to double up. So 1 palm is your protein and 1 palm is your carbs. That's going to be your dressing, as you say it, across the pond.
My stuffing.
You're stuffing the way we say it here in America. Yeah, you're stuffing your scalloped potatoes, your mashed potatoes, your starchy vegetables like sweet potatoes, anything like that. That's going to be another palm-sized portion. And then when you put all of your fingers, your 8 fingers together, yes, I did leave out the thumbs intentionally, your 8 fingers together, that's going to be your non-starchy vegetables, right? So you get all of your salad, all of your greens, all of your like string beans and corn and whatever. That's how much you can have of that. And then your thumbs are the fatty stuff that we all love, like the dessert. Imagine a slice of pumpkin pie that's only as big as your thumb. That's going to keep you out of trouble, though. This is how the French stay skinny and cool and chic and, most importantly, healthy for their entire lives. And on that bombshell, it's the end of the show. You've been listening to the Senior Hour, KHTS, FM 98.1, AM 1220, hometownstation.com. Now go out and enjoy your Thanksgiving.
Yes.